Most people think property investing is all about finding the right property. They spend hundreds of hours scrolling through real estate apps, looking for the perfect suburb or the best rental yield. But here is the reality. Finding the right property is only 50% of the game. If you don't have the right structure in place, that perfect house could actually be the very thing that stops you from ever buying a second one. Think of the property as the vehicle, but your loan structure is the fuel. You can have the best car sitting in the driveway, but if you've got the wrong fuel in the tank or no fuel at all, you aren't going anywhere. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 finance weapons that turn a single property purchase into a scalable investment portfolio. Weapon number 1, maximizing your valuation. Now on paper, your portfolio grows through equity. We all love seeing property prices go up in the news, but here's the catch. That equity is tracked. It's just numbers on a screen until a bank conducts a valuation. Most people go to the current bank and get a valuation. That bank says your property is worth $800,000 and they just accept it. If that valuation is not high enough, their investment journey stops dead in its tracks because they can't pull out enough equity for the next deposit. But here's what the pro investors do. They don't just hope for a good number. They know that every bank uses different valuers, and those valuers can have wildly different opinions. I've seen cases where Bank A says a property is worth $850 and Bank B literally the next day says it's worth $920. That $70,000 difference is the deposit for your next house. So the pro move, we order what's called an upfront valuation. We do this before we even submit a loan application. This allows us to shop around and cherry pick the lender that sees the most value in your property. Essentially, we choose the lender that gives us the biggest bucket of equity to play with. It's the ultimate way to stay in control of your own growth rather than in the mercy of one conservative valuer. Weapon number 2 is often the most misunderstood concept in the world of finance: interest-only loans. Now, we've all been told we should pay off the mortgage as fast as possible. For your own home, absolutely. But in the world of investing, paying down the principal too early can actually hold you back from growing your portfolio. Here's the logic. Why would you use your hard-earned cash to pay down a debt that is tax deductible when you could be using that same cash to save for your next deposit? By switching an investment loan to interest only, you're drastically lowering your monthly commitments. You're keeping more cash in your pocket every single month, which does 2 things. It makes the property easier to hold, especially when interest rates rise, and it speeds up your ability to save. And here's the pro move, and this is where the real magic happens. You take all that extra cash you're saving by not paying down the principal, and you funnel it into an offset account. But not on the investment loan, you put it against your personal home loan. Think about it. Your home loan isn't tax deductible, so you want that gone yesterday. By using an IO structure on your investment, you keep that tax deductible debt high, you maximize interest deduction, while you use the savings to smash your non-deductible home loan. It's a double win that most set and forget investors completely miss. Now, weapon number 3 is the ultimate shortcut, and it's the LMI waiver. Now, if you ever bought a property before, you know the golden rule of the banks. If you don't have a 20% deposit, you have to pay lender's mortgage insurance, or LMI. This isn't insurance for you, it's insurance for the bank. And it can cost you $20,000, $30,000, even $40,000 depending on the loan. It's a massive cost. But there is an inner circle that the banks don't talk about much. If you work in certain professions, we are talking doctors, nurses, accountants, lawyers, and other professionals, many lenders are willing to waive the LMI entirely. They see your career as low risk, so they're happy to let you in with as little as a 10% or even a 5% deposit without charging you a cent in insurance. Now, the pro move for the investors watching, this isn't just about saving $20,000 in fees. This is a velocity weapon. Think about it. If you have $200K in savings, most people use that 20% deposit on $1 million property. But if you qualify for an LMI waiver, you could split that $200K and put it down as two 10% deposits on two properties that cost $1 million each. You have effectively doubled your portfolio's exposure to the market using this exact same amount of cash. While everyone else is waiting years to save up their next 20%, you're out there buying property number 2 free on day 1. It's the fastest way to scale if you've got the right job title. Weapon number 4 is something I call the serviceability time machine. As you get older and your investment journey progresses, your loan term starts to shrink. If you took out a 30-year loan 10 years ago, you've only got 20 years left to pay it back. Now, you might think, great, I'm closer to owning it. But from a bank's perspective, they now see you as a higher risk for a new loan. Why? Because their calculator forces you to pay back the same debt in a much shorter window, which makes your required monthly repayments look much bigger. This is the number one reason investors hit a wall. They literally run out of room in the bank's eyes. And this strategy is simple. Every time you refinance or restructure, you want to reset that clock back to a fresh 30-year term. By stretching that debt back to 30 years, you're artificially lowering your mandatory monthly payment. It's like giving your cash flow a massive hit of oxygen. Even if you plan on paying that loan faster by using an offset account, having that required payment stay low is what keeps you servicing ready. It's the difference between the bank saying you can't afford another loan and you've got plenty of room for property number 4. You're using time to buy yourself more property. And lastly, we have weapon number 5, the non-bank lenders. Look, the big banks are like the popular kids in school. They're rigid. They have a very specific set of rules. And if you don't fit their exact mold, they aren't interested. When you have 1 or 2 properties, the big banks are great. But as your portfolio grows, you'll eventually hit what I call the investor ceiling. The reason you hit that ceiling isn't usually your income. It's the bank's repayment buffers. See, even if your actual mortgage rate is 6%, the big banks will stress test you at 9%. They buffer your repayments just to be safe. And once you have 3 or 4 loans, those 3% buffers add up so much more, then you can no longer borrow more money. This is where non-bank lenders come in. They don't always play by the same rigid rules. Many of them use much smaller buffers or more realistic assessment rates. They might look at your 6% loan and only test you at 7 or 8%. The pro move here is all about order of operations. You want to use the big banks for as long as you possibly can, exhaust their cheaper money while your portfolio is small. But as you save that non-bank lender for later, they are your contingency lenders because they don't stress test your income as hard. They're the key to breaking through that ceiling and moving from 3 properties to 5 while everyone else is stuck in the big bank waiting room. Look, the biggest takeaway I want you to have from today is this. Finance isn't a set and forget thing. If you treat your mortgage like a utility bill that you just pay every month, you're going to hit a wall. Building a property portfolio is a game of chess. You have to think 3 moves ahead. Sometimes you stay with a big bank now, so you can jump to a non-bank later. Sometimes you use an LMI waiver on property 2, so you can preserve cash for property 3. Every one of you watching has a different starting line. Maybe you're a doctor who needs that LMI waiver, or maybe you're an investor stuck at property number 2 who needs that 30-year reset. If you want to stop guessing and start building, get in touch. so we can figure out exactly which of these 5 weapons you should be using next to break through your ceiling. Let's get your finance structure right, and I'll see you in the next video.